hypostases, because that's what the Catholic Church teaches in the councils. Yeah. So if you can just.
Can you hang this back from this? What something decided? Okay, can I explain something?
What's the chapter and verse?
Mark 13:32. Oios or ude oios or know the Son, imi, if not, or patir, the Father. Imi, it doesn't use monos, it uses imi.
And what does it mean?
Well, literally it means if not, but idiomatically it can mean except, but not always. Not always. It doesn't always mean only or except. It doesn't always mean it.
So you're saying, okay, I'm not checking it right away. Let's grant that your interpretation is correct. So no one knows the hour means it's possible they know the hour.
Pardon?
No one knows the hour as it starts. It means it's possible they know the hour.
No.
So it negates them. Not even the angels. Does it give them the allowance that they might know the hour, or it negates it?
Negates it.
Not even the sun. Does it negate it?
No. Because when you look at that sentence in total, like, ude, oios, imi, or patir, know the Son, if not the Father. So
let's go up to the sun. When it says know the angels, do the angels know the hour? Do they know the no? Which one?
they don't know the hour.
Know the sun. Does the sun know? No, doesn't know.
He does know the hour.
Where is the syntax change in which now know the angels means they don't know, know the sun means the sun knows?
Because when you read it in the Greek, when it says ude, oios, imi, or patir,
How does it say about the angels? Can you say the same Greek? Tell me how the syntax is in Greek. So you're saying the English translations here, when it says know the angels and know the sun, there's two different meanings intended.
Yes, two different meanings.
According to the text, not your exegesis.
No, this isn't my exegesis. This is what
No, according to the
Basil of
Greek
Caesarea
text.
says. This is what Basil of Caesarea
No,
says.
according to the text, it means the sun knows.
Yeah, the Son knows, if not the Father. So the Son knows.
And what does it mean if not the Father?
If the Father doesn't know, then the Son doesn't know. That's what it's saying there. That's what it's saying.
So you believe the Son knows everything the Father knows?
Yeah.
Are you certain about that?
I'd say so. Yeah.
Does the Son know that he's the Father?
He's not the Father though.
I'm asking you a question.
Well, yeah, he would know that he's not the Father.
Does the Son know that he's the Father?
No, he's not the Father, so he wouldn't know that.
So he doesn't know something that the Father knows. Does
No,
the
no. See, this is like trickery.
Wait,
This is
wait,
trickery.
it's not tricky. Does the Father know he's the Father?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does the Son know he's the Father? Does the Son know the Son himself is the Father?
He knows that he's not the Father.
So he doesn't know the same way the Father knows he's the Father.
I don't see the point you're making here.
Of course you do see the point. That's why you're being perplexed.
That's like
I
me
mean,
saying, do I know I'm not Mansur?
do they have the same knowledge? You said they have the same homoousios, right?
Well, that's more about nature. But
How do they differ between themselves? What is the difference between the Father and the Son?
it's a virtual distinction between the subsistent relations.
You know,
That's the difference.
I need to
between
understand
hypostases.
how is the Son not the Father? What's the difference?
Because the subsistent relations, they are constituted by different things. So the Father is constituted by his begetting, and the Son is constituted by his being begotten, and the Spirit is constituted by the proceeding. Because that's how the subsistent relations are constituted. But these are virtual distinctions. These aren't, I suppose, real distinctions.
You know, you believe in relational attributes, right? These are the relations.
Well, see, I wouldn't say they're attributes, though, because this isn't sifat.
It's not attributes? Who decided that the Father will beget the Son?
The Father, I suppose.
Does he have an independent will other than the Son?
See, I don't know the exact answer on that, but going off from what I know, I would probably say all three persons have their own individual wills, but they are one in their will. In the sense they're all like, it's like there's a verse in Corinthians where it's like the sower and the one who seeds, or like the planter and the one who seeds, they're one, because they're one in will, they're one in purpose, or one in action, in that sense. So yeah, they have, each hypostasis has its own will, but because they are unified.
Are they willing? Can they disagree with each other?
No,
Why not?
because they're one in will.
Is this by necessity they can't disagree, by compelling, or by choice?
I wouldn't know.
Remember,
I
you
wouldn't know
said
the answer.
they possess independent will.
Because this is getting into what the scholastics deal with. I
It's
wouldn't
not
know.
about scholastics, my friend. You believe in three gods, that's why the problem
believe
arises.
in
If you
one
believe in
God.
one, is the Father one God?
He's one of the subsistent relations
I'm
in the
not
one
asking
God.
you.
Yeah.
My question is very specific. Is the Father one God?
The Father is in the one God. Yes. He's one
Is
of,
the Father one God? I've asked you 3 times.
yes.
Good. If the Father is one God, there you go, you have this one God. Who's the Son other than this one God? God number 2.
It goes back to what I've said about the subsistent relations in
But
the
you can talk
one
about an
subsistent.
explanation to harmonize the tritheism or triunitheism, but the fact of the matter that when you admit the Father is God, and he's not half a God, he's not a third God, that's one fully God. So you have, there you go, Father is one God. Then when we talk about the Son, distinctively from the Father, then that's God number 2, because he's also God, fully divine, fully possessor of divine essence. God number 2 and God number 3, that's 3 gods. The question now remains is how do the Catholics or the
the one you were reading
Christians
out? Yeah.
say that's not
It's
3
the-
God but one God? This is what we should be asking.
Because
What makes them-
see God's oneness grounded in his substance,
There's the Greek word.
his essence. We don't. So
Neither,
because all 3 of them are
In
one
every
substance,
single gospel,
but,
Matthew, Mark,
with the virtual distinctions, they are 3.
They were just
subsistent
beating around
Luke,
the bush. They were
Acts,
constitutes the hypostasis,
all
the
same meaning.
relations, or the 3 subsistences. So sure, they all equal in essence, all
They're
equal
not
in
equal.
substance.
They're not equal.
Well, we believe that they would be.
You believe that, okay. So did the Son decide also that he will be begotten eternally? Who made that decision?
I would suppose the Father. I suppose
Then
the
how
Father.
is there equal? They have no equal will, equal
Because
decision making.
When it comes to like this language of begotten and proceeding and whatnot, it relates to what Gregory of Nazianzus talks about the taxis or the ordering within the Trinity. Now, I'm not too schooled on this. I must admit, I'm not an expert. I'm not a theologian. But according from what I've read, according from what I've read, there's a logical ordering in the Trinity or the taxis, a logical ordering.
Whatever order you give,
So we don't see this as
how
happening
are
in
there
time,
not 3 gods but one God?
because there's only one substance. There's only one essence.
So if you have Brother Idris, what's your name?
Jack.
Jack and Mansur. We share the one human essence, one humanity. How many humans are we?
We have 3 humans.
3 humans. 3 humans share one humanity, human essence. But they're not one human, they're 3 humans.
But see, I
When you have-
wouldn't see that as a sort of
Wait,
analogical example. I wouldn't see that. I wouldn't see
Don't
that
jump
as-
the gun. When you have 3 divine persons in your Trinity, they share one divine essence. How many gods are they sharing the divine essence? 3 gods.
But I see-
Just like there were 3 humans, there are 3 gods. But you are reluctant to admit that because you know why? Because you'll be accused of a tritheist.
Well, when you say us 3 persons here and the 3 divine persons, you're being equivocal with the term person there, because we're not using person in the same sense that all of us
I
are
didn't say
persons.
person, I say humans. We share one humanity, the human essence. And yet, we're not one human, we're 3 humans.
Yeah.
So if you have Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit sharing the divine essence, how many divine beings are there, gods are there, or entities are there? There are 3 gods. Divine being or persons, when they share the divine essence, they're gods.
لا برد حسين شي
Like
حانت.
humanity sharing individuals are humans. Divinity sharing individuals are divine.
We aren't free subsistent relations. I'm not a subsistent relation. You're not a subsistent relation. We are concrete humans. We'd be different in that respect.
We are counting. How many gods are there? How many humans are there? You have to say there are 3 gods. Why are there not 3
I don't have
gods?
to say that. I don't believe
Okay,
that.
no. You don't believe it because it is obvious that it's 3 and you want to try to still present yourself to be monotheist. When you have this criticism from a monotheist to this Trinitarian concept of God, now tell me reasonably, rationally, why there are not 3 gods?
I'd see that as being because the reason why I'd see it as not being three gods is because in the Fourth Lateran Council, it talks about how there is no sort of essence-person distinction, because the Eastern Orthodox believe that, but we as Catholics don't believe that. We see God's essence and God's person as there's no. It's almost, I think it's numerically identical. I think that's the word they use. Numerically identical.
But they're not identical to each other.
No. We see the three persons being numerically identical to the essence. We're not. We as humans.
But that's not.
We as humans.
But that's not correct, though.
There is an essence. There is a distinction between the essence and person.
The Father does not identify himself as the Son. The Son doesn't identify himself as the Holy Spirit.
They are three different subsistent relations. So
Wait. Are they of the same substance?
Yes.
Right. So the Father, does he identify that I am the Father, or does he identify I'm the Son?
The Father.
Right. So there is a distinction between this identity. So they're not the same.
Relationally, no, they're not the same.
Relationally?
Yeah.
What about knowledge?
What do you mean?
Does the Father know that he's not the Son?
Yes.
Okay. Does the Son know that he's not the Father? Okay. So when the Father says, I am the Son, can he say that?
No, you cannot say that.
So there's a distinction between that knowledge,
Yeah,
that
because
claim, that experience,
The hypostases are different in that sense. Yeah.
the essence. If you have one essence and everyone shares the same essence, then I should say, I'm exactly like that.
But we don't talk from our essence, do we?
What's the difference between essence and hypostasis?
Well, in God, there's no distinction. In God, they're identical. In us, there's a difference.
I'm not talking about human beings. In God.
But even though we're two human beings, we're not numerically identical to the essence, because I'm not you and you're not me. And there's no subsistent relation or anything like that. There's no sort of none of that. But with God, it's different. That's what.
Do you believe God is self-sufficient?
Yeah.
Are you certain?
You mean like a say?
Yeah.
A say it. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Is the Son a say?
See, that's an interesting question. See,
And the interesting answer?
see, John Calvin says that the Son is a say, but I know that some Greek fathers, they say that the Son isn't a say, but the Father is a say. But I'd have to look more into that myself to give an answer.
Jesus actually addresses this question in John's Gospel and says, I, the Son, can do nothing. I actually admits not having that power, that essence that you attribute to the Father. So the answer is given in the Gospel of John.
But I'm sure you're aware of the Trinitarian understanding of those verses.
I don't really understand the Trinitarian understanding, so I don't teaching me, but I'm saying the Son says, as the Son, I can do nothing of my own, only what the Father, so there's clearly an ontological difference.
See, Gregory Nazianzus doesn't see an ontological difference there, but he'd see, I suppose, I don't know what word we'd be using here.
Let's not appeal to authorities. Your
I'm a
church.
Catholic, so,
No. The reason why I'm saying that, I'll tell you what the reason I say that. According to the text, Jesus Christ clearly says in John 5:38, I think, and some others, where he says, the Son, he says, I descend from heaven, not to do my will, but the will of the Father who sent me. So clearly you can see that there are two different wills, and
Christ has two wills.
one. I'm not talking about the will of the human.
But Christ has
No,
two
no,
wills.
I'm not talking about the will of the human. Irrelevant. I'm talking about the one who says, I descend from the heaven, means, is it the human speaking or the divine speaking?
The one unified subject of Christ.
Yeah, but it's not the human, because human wasn't there in heaven. So when he says, I descend from heaven, refers to the divine nature, the divine will. So the divine will says, I have a will, the Father has a will, but I decide to subjugate myself to the will of the Father. So as you can see, they don't have the same will, because it's not coming from the same essence. Because if you have the same essence, it will be the same will. If you're the same essence, you have everything the same. Unless you tell me, you know what, it's like sharing a sandwich. Can you share between three people the sandwich equally, 100%?
But we have the same essence. But
One moment. Sharing the essence is something that is explained. Can you share a pie equally as 100% pie between three people?
But this relies on the assumption that the will originates from the essence.
Now you say the will originates from the nature, right?
I don't want to make a commitment to that. because
It's
I'm
one
not
of these
very-
two, either
not
from the
very-
nature or from the person. They try to say it's actually not from the person, because if it's from the person, then you have three different wills. They want to make one will, but here the problem is Jesus and the text says otherwise. You have to be in conformity with the text to have a coherent belief.
When they read John's Gospel, I think most people, when they read the Gospel of John, they get a very strong sense that the Son is subordinate to the Father. They're not equal at all. The Son says things like, the Father is greater than I,
Yeah.
or I can do, as the Son can do nothing on my own. And it's not just speaking from an alleged human bit of him rather than the divine bit. He's speaking as the Son.
Yeah.
The Son is subordinate. So that speaks against this egalitarian understanding of the Trinity that Augustine and you as a Catholic have now. It fits a bit better with the Orthodox understanding, which has a very hierarchical, monarchical understanding of the Trinity. It's the Father who is the font and the source of all things. That kind of fits better, although it's still vulnerable to the criticism that Mansur is making, but at least it's slightly modelled better on John.
Yeah.
When you read John, don't you get the impression that the Son, as the Son, and not some alleged human bit of it, the Son qua Son, is very subordinate to the Father? Do you get that sense?
Yes,
I do.
because that is the plain reading. Yes.
Yeah, but
That means
goes
then-
against your later Augustinian Trinitarianism. I argue.
That means the Son is not God.
Not once.
It's not
have I
essay.
quoted Augustine. I've only ever quoted Greek fathers like Basil or Gregory. I've not quoted Augustine.
No,
Fine,
well,
fine.
I'm referring to him as he wrote that great work on the Trinity, which I'm assuming you're informing your
I've not read it, but I know about it.
Oh, I have.
So can the Son be God if it's not essay?
I wouldn't know how to answer that.
The answer is no, because God has to be essay by necessity. By necessity. Because if he's not totally self-sufficient, who does he depend on? Some other greater God? And that will be God then. The Father, same question can be asked. Is he independent of the Son and the Holy Spirit for him to be God?
Okay, I see what you're asking there, and what I would say to that is, in this sense, yes, all three persons, they do not depend on anything higher than each other. They do not depend on anything higher.
Do they depend on anything other than themselves?
I think I can say this, but relationally, they do depend on each other.
Then they are dependent. If the
So
Son
this
depends on the
is
Father,
relationally. This is in the sense.
whatever relation, if the Son cannot do something unless the Father agrees with him and the Son agrees with him, then he's not sovereign. He's not sovereign. Sovereignty belongs to God. This is one of the key, essential, necessary attributes of God, that God is sovereign and self-sufficient. If you have the Father needs to decide by the other two agreeing with him, he's not sovereign. Individually, none of them can be God. Collectively, together in one Trinity cannot be God. The whole thing cannot be God. This is why when Islam talks about God, it say God, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say he is one. God, God, Ahad, one. It's like one off, that's it, there's no other. Allahu Samad. That he is totally independent, self-sufficient, absolute. Everyone and everything needs him, depends on him, but he's free from any need from anything and everyone. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. Direct refutation of the Christian creed. Whether you're Catholic or otherwise, that God is, he's not begotten and he doesn't beget. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And there is nothing like unto him in whatsoever way, no comparison, no co-equal. This concept of God does the Quran provide in chapter 112, Surah Al-Ikhlas, is something that you know that your heart and mind will not struggle to accept. It is in sync, in harmony.
But what you've just said is actually found on the lips of Jesus himself, even in your own gospel. I kid
Is that
you
when he
not.
quotes Deuteronomy?
No. Well, yes, but when Jesus in Mark's gospel is asked, what is the greatest commandment? He actually quotes the Shema in Hebrew,
Shema Yisrael.
which is exactly the same word in Arabic. He says, here the Lord our God is one. Echad in Hebrew, which is precisely the word
Ahad.
Ahad in Arabic. So the Quran